All right, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trade. Today is Monday, August 7th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. Anyways, let's get into it today. So, market's basically asleep here. Definitely kind of weak price action, all things considered. Not necessarily weak as in a weak market, but just, I mean, look at the range here. So 448 to 450 was basically the entire range for the spiders today. Q's a little bit on the weaker side, although they're getting a little bit of a bid here. In the final 10-15 minutes, you see kind of NVIDIA uptaking a little bit there. That's kind of helping out the Qs, and the semiconductors bidding up a little bit. But they were a little bit on the weaker side. Russell a little bit weak as well. That is basically flat for the day. The Dow is up 1%. So the Dow getting a decent bid off that 20-period moving average, and that's holding up just fine here. You see the Russell there basically flat to positive. That did make now daily chart lower lows there. So we'll see if that sets up a lower high attempt. But at the same time, it's not really the end of the world because technically you're still inside of this kind of green bar here. And you never really took that out on a closing basis, even though you are below the 20 moving average. So the Russell's still holding up here. I think the market right now is okay, although obviously last week we talked about it a lot. We did do some technical damage to the charts getting through this trend line. I would have preferred today, and I'm going to use the Qs just because I like the technicals here better, but I would have preferred today if we had gone down to this 50 MA. Like if we gapped up, had a little gap and crap type move, then tomorrow you gap down. That would have been a nice buy the dip setup there for a turnaround Tuesday. Obviously, that is not in the cards. We're just kind of floating here. So definitely a little bit of summer doldrums, kind of August type light volume. Qs only have 33 million shares traded. The spiders only have 44 million shares. So really light across the board. We do have CPI on Thursday, and that's going to be a big one because June was really the cutoff, right? So June of last year, it peaked and then it fell off a cliff in July. And, as I've talked about a lot as well recently, you look at gas prices, oil, crude is up 20%, basically from this area here, and finished the month up 20%. So, and gas, UGA, look where it was in June and look where it is now. Look where it was at the end of July. So big move there. DBA, these commodities. So it does look like there's kind of floors here, higher floors in inflation. It'll be interesting to see if how this market reacts, but we'll see how it trades. Again, short-term levels here. Yesterday's high right around 453, and then 453.50 is your gap window. So that's going to be a level. You also got the 20 moving average, which got rejected essentially on Friday. So we'll see how the market behaves there. But we might just be in float mode until CPI. So next 2 days here, Tuesday, Wednesday, may just be kind of on the quieter side. That generally bodes well for the market performance-wise. Generally look for neutral upside in a light volume environment. But obviously, to start the month, it has been anything but that. We've gotten heavy volume and we've had some pretty, big corrective moves here. And we've definitely done chart damage. But I think that'll be kind of the big thing that the market looks at, obviously, this week. So again, until then, we may see a little bit quieter action. Berkshire did report. Big move there, a new all-time high for Berkshire, up 3.5%. Warren Buffett now 147 billion cash on hand in an inflationary environment. So interesting that he's holding that much cash. Does he see something around the corner potentially? But either way, triple Qs here. Again, up 80 basis points, getting a little bit of a bid here. So now just trying to kind of go into parity with the spiders. They were lower than the spiders all day long. In fact, the Qs actually went negative earlier on. Again, another thing I've talked about ad nauseum, Qs should be underperforming relative to kind of the, laggard sectors, old world stocks, energy, healthcare, and financials. Speaking of those, XLF having a decent day. That was up pretty much all day long, up 1.3%. KRE up 1%. XLV up 1%. And XLE hanging in there. Okay, that's just flat to positive, but that's had a nice pop through that 85 level, and that's just daily consolidation there. But anyways, Q's level to watch this week's 380 on the downside, 50 MA in this trend line. Very simple there. We already talked about the Russell and the Dow. Semiconductors hanging in there. Could be starting daily chart bear look, so down move inside. Got to get back above that 20 moving average and above this trend line to kind of negate that. Certainly could happen tomorrow again. Volume's light, so nothing to say that can't happen. You have a little bit of an M look there on the daily, and for all the how well the semis have held up here, it looks like they're just on a tear. But if you think about it, we're barely above where we were on the 30th of May. So they've kind of largely gone sideways. Yes, we've made slight higher highs, but we've chopped around a lot, and semiconductors just hanging in there. I think these do need to correct here. They are still, even despite this kind of choppiness, they are, this trend line is just very steep. I think you do need to have a corrective move. You can reevaluate it down here, but right now semis are holding up, and we'll take that as a positive. Cloud software, this is probably set for, I would say, pretty decent dip buy here on IGV. I don't own it, but I like that 50 moving average. I like how you're a little oversold going into it. And I like this level here. So, we'll see. That could probably go up and test bare minimum 355, maybe even this downsloping trend line there. And then your big level is 359, 360, which is your gap window from last week. But cloud hanging in there okay. Transport's hanging in there just fine as well. And this is something I take as a positive for the market here as well. Bullish inside bar on the daily. So no problems there until that breaks. If you break through that, then 16 and then 15.6, 15.5 are your big levels, but I don't really see any problems here. And as long as that holds up, we'll give that the upside bias to the highs. If you take out the high, it's up to 17,000 there on the DJT. All right, so interest rates here, a little bit of a flat day. So nothing crazy going on here. You see the 2-year, that's flat as a pancake. 5's up 2 basis points. 10-year up 4. That's holding up well here. We're looking at a weekly. That's why it's so strange. There we go. 10-year up 4, and then the 30-year here up 6. Yield curve's coming back in a little bit. This has been a thing lately, right? Like, look, 5s and 30s, uninverted. 10s and 30s, uninverted. 3-month and 10-year still really inverted. 2s and 10s still really inverted, but they're starting to come back up here. Could mean that we're getting close to an economic slowdown. That's usually kind of what that means when the yield curves normalize. But right now they're still very inverted, and they still have a long way to go. But yield's hanging in there okay. Again, remember the big level for the 2-year is 5.33. You get above that, and it's a monkey wrench for the market. Okay. So on to housing here. XHP is still acting really well. This probably wants to go up and get that double top. I mean, it's so close to it right now. 86.61 is your double top. What's another $2 there on the XHB? It's already had a big run here. It probably will get up there. Same thing with the ITB there. Obviously, that's already made new highs, but maybe a Pierce of 90, 91, somewhere in that area could get you in parity with the XHB level. And then VNQ getting a little bit of a bounce, but I don't like what it did last week, closing below that breakout bar low on a weekly. That's not a good sign here. So definitely still not super bullish there on the VNQ, especially closing the week back below 84 and that 83.24 area. So again, this still has a lot of work to do. Maybe it needs to come down and retest 80. But again, VNQ still under pressure, but it got a bounce today. XLF we talked about. That still has upside to 36. The 36.25. KRE still has upside, believe it or not, to 55. And then KBE also has upside to 45. So Finn's still holding in there just fine. Broker dealers holding in there just fine. That can still get to 530. Crude here backing off a little bit, but a flat day. Nothing terrible, right? So up move going into resistance, and if you just got a hammer candle, I don't see any problems there with crude. This does some more backing and filling. It'll get right through that, and then it's squeeze mode all the way to the low to mid 90s. So crude looks really strong here on the charts, and you get through that pivot high 83.53 on a weekly close, it's going to squeeze up. XLE holding up okay. We talked about that one earlier. That's flat to positive. I don't see any issues. XOP is overbought, but still no real problems. I do think that does pull back, though, off of this trend line. So usually third hit of the trend line should be some type of a pullback there. I think that's a pullback for buying, though. Then OIH, red here, that is overbought as well. Starting to look like it's starting to run out a little bit of gas here. That may need to do some backing and filling. But again, still very strong on the charts. Nat gas, big pop here, up almost 7% on the day. So back to the 275 handle. Again, we talked about this channel last week. We never got to the low end of it, and now we're curling back up here on volume. So a nice pop there for Natty. Little short-term overbought here. Just 6% up day, but we'll see. This looks like it's poised to finally get through this upper trend line. Maybe a day or two of consolidation gets you up to 290 again, and then $3 is your big level. You get through that, then it's squeeze time. But nat gas, nice pop today, and that looks really strong. Again, I've mentioned this many times, but I like that weekly base. Nice bull flag there on the weekly. That's got some legs to it. So, all right, over to dollar index here. So dollar kind of all over the map, but flat to positive at the end of the day here. Still inside of this green candle from Wednesday, and it's holding up. I've got no sell signal. I've got no buy signal. I'm not biased either way until you get above 102.56.4 on a weekly close. Then I'm bull bias here to probably the 200 moving average. You close above, this area on a weekly close, then I'm really bullish. Or actually, I should say, I want to make sure I get that right because I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. So right here. So 103.75. If you get above that on a weekly close, then I'm really bullish dollar. But right now I'm neutral on it. It's done too much fake downs, fake outs, fake ups, fake down, fake this, fake that. Let it tell us what it wants to do, and then we'll trade it from there. But I'm not doing anything with it now. Market set to close here in 3, 2, 1. So getting a little bit of a pop near the end of the day. So nice little bid there for the market. And you see the Qs just coming into parity with the spiders. We'll talk about that in a second. Gold here down 25 basis points with the flattish dollar. Again, you lose 1950. It's down to this area, and then 1850. If you can hold up and get above this area, then 2050 is your upside. Silver did back off a little bit more into the 200 moving average, and it's testing that. It is a little short-term oversold. I do think this holds here in the short term. You probably should get a bounce, but if you put in one more lower high, it's going to go to that 22 handle. If you get through 22, it's down to 21. But again, it's a little oversold here. Again, you're still back testing that blue trend line, which there it is. But what I don't like is you tested it Friday and then you popped off of it, and now you're going to close below that low. That's definitely not a sign of strength. But again, we'll give it the benefit of the doubt. It is a little oversold, so sometimes you get a double test like that, and you can get a bid. Platinum here inside, nothing terrible going on there, nothing great either. I think that does take out that pivot though. And then palladium here, nothing going on. I'm still looking for that one to make one more leg lower than copper. Not much going on either. Down 75 basis points. You break this trend line, it's down to 370. Pretty simple there. Okay, Bitcoin here lastly. That was all over the map as well. But ultimately got a nice pop by the end of the, when it's all said and done. Reclaiming the 20 moving average on a close for the first time since really the 13th of July. So been almost a month, 3-4 weeks there for Bitcoin. To get above that 20, again, it's not a huge sign, but again, you guys know I really like the weekly. This is strong. That's as strong of a pattern as you're going to get. So I like the setup there on Bitcoin weekly, even though the daily chart is a little bit of a mess. That weekly is very clean. You get above the 50, I think, and then really, I told you guys last week, 30,200. That's where I think it's, get up to 31.5. And then possibly even higher than that. But Bitcoin hanging in there. All right, lastly, let's get back over to the spiders here. So markets, again, watch tomorrow and Wednesday. 453 to 453.50 is kind of short term, your level. And then obviously the gap fill all the way up there from last week. And then really the Qs, it's simple. That 380 level is going to be the big psychological level. And then obviously the 50 MA with this trend line to the downside. Anyways, guys, can wrap it up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I'll talk to you guys all tomorrow.